Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live football show on the Belly Up Sports Network. I'm Vince Stover, the host of the Sports Stove Football Show, and I am joined today by the one and only Brian Germaro, the co-host of the 3rd and 10 podcast, and the one that has not been this happy all football season long. But Brian Daboll is gone, and the Angels are singing, I think, in Brian's head. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. It's a new day. It's a new day in Giants football. Sure, we got other issues like the GM and the DC are still here, but one of the problems is gone. That's good. Step in the right direction here.
Step in the right direction. Our friend Kevin Wilson, not with us tonight, but we would be amiss if we did not wish him a happy Veterans Day, as well as all those others that have served or are serving in our armed forces. We appreciate you and we thank you. We have given Kevin the day off and that he can enjoy his Veterans Day.
Our veterans. We give him a day off.
Wife things too. So Kevin will be back with us next week, ideally. But a happy Veterans Day, Kev, and anyone else. I know that Hector at Belly Up Sports, also a veteran. With the insert name FC, right? Yeah.
Which is a tremendous name for a podcast, by the
way.
That's incredible.
So Hector and Kevin, and I that's the only two I know of in Belly Up. There's probably more, though. So shout out to anyone else as well. All right, let's get into it today. We're talking fantasy football. We're at week 11 on the football schedule, which means we're really getting close to playoff time in the fantasy world as well. So every week, every matchup is crucial, and we're here to try to help you win out this week as well. Let's get into our first segment, the lead block. All right, for our lead block, we're talking about studs and duds from week number 10, and there were some absolutely crazy performances in week 10. And Brian, I want to know, let's start just the both of us talking about Jonathan Taylor, because what Jonathan Taylor is doing right now is MVP-esque. We know running backs really don't get the MVP, but it's a quarterback award, and he'll get Offensive Player of the Year or whatever. But I think he's 4th or 5th right now in Vegas in the odds to get the MVP, and a massive outing overseas and just doing it all for Indianapolis right now. Give me your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, that game was his MVP moment. Like, I feel like every MVP season, there's one game or one drive that sticks out. When we look back at Taylor's resume, this is going to be the game that stuck out because he won that game for the Colts. Daniel Jones did not have a good game. I know the stat line doesn't say it, but he did fumble the ball 3 times, recovered it, threw a pick. If Jonathan Taylor wasn't running over everybody, scoring 3 touchdowns, it's likely the Falcons win that game. The Colts have some serious questions. So that's good for Taylor.
Yeah, it's a crazy performance. He broke his own record as far as Indianapolis Colts' best rushing days, and 240-some yards, 3 touchdowns. Fantasy managers across the world rejoice. If he just stays,
matchup was over. Your matchup was over before the 1 p.m. kickoffs.
Yep. Yeah, I have him in 2 leagues. One league he had 51.3, I think. The other league was 49.7. And
that kind of seems to be the consensus. Somewhere between like 48 and 52 points is kind of where he lands.
And that goes a long way in a fantasy matchup.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Exciting times. I'm going to come back to that in a moment in our next segment, actually. We're going to talk about that again. All right, who else do you have that you thought stood out this week?
Well, another running back that had a big day that I think is kind of being overshadowed is Devon Achane. 22 carries, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. 6 receptions for 51 yards. It's only the second time this season he's rushed for over 100 yards in a game. And, from basically he's the main reason the Dolphins had to beat the Bills. As shocked as we all were, it was Achane just running through that Bills defense is why the Dolphins got off that big lead, why they won that game. So shout out to Devon Achane, even though he's not going to get the credit he deserves because Taylor had an MVP moment.
Yeah, Achane is all season. And it's just like, well, let me rephrase that. I was going to say it's just like Jonathan Taylor, the impact that he's having on his team. It's very similar, but Achane has been stellar all season long. He was a consensus, definitely top 10, he top 5 to 6, and I just went off the screen.
Oh.
See if we can get me back. I'm not going to get me back. Here we go. I'm back. All right. So Achane has just been phenomenal all season. What he's doing in Miami this year if you're a Dolphins fan, it's not been a good season, but Achane has been absolutely incredible. I want to bring up another running back, and it's one that I beat the drum for in the preseason. Finally gets an opportunity and makes the most of it. Trevion Henderson in New England, 14 carries. By the way, second week in a row of 14 carries.
Yeah.
This week, though, 147 yards and the 2 touchdowns to go along with it is massive. And then he also had 1 catch for 3 yards, so not a whole lot there. But we've been saying it all season long. If he gets the opportunity, clearly he's going to be fine. Now, is he going to be great? We don't know, but fine for sure. And finally, first place New England. So, I mean, you got to be a little careful with, knocking them too hard. But they finally give him a shot. He makes the most of it, gets in the end zone, makes things happen this week. And as a fantasy owner who has kept him in 3 of my 4 leagues, it's great to see him starting to hit.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I have him in a few leagues. I had him on my bench, and then Sunday morning, I was torn between him and Kamara, with these 2 guys are torn to. I'm like, you know what? Stevenson's out. Let's see what Henderson's got. Finally get an opportunity. And I was very happy with what I saw. I have it in my show notes, too, about, like, my studs. And my note is just finally in all capital letters about his performance. So, I mean, there's not much more you can want for Henderson other than that performance.
100%. All right, you got another guy that you thought had a good week?
Yeah, I mean, we'll stay overseas. Oh, go back overseas, I guess. Drake London. I know it's a loss, but 6 receptions for 104 yards and a touchdown. He seems to kind of be getting some consistency, which was kind of a problem early on in the season. His last four of his last 6 games, he's had 20-plus catches, 20-plus points. So if he can do that consistently, sit in that 16 to 20-point range, he's a wide receiver 1 for your fantasy team, which would be huge coming down the stretch here.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. All right, last guy that I've got that I want to talk about on the positive side is quarterback Davis Mills.
Yes.
I mean,
I forgot he was still the Texans.
Yes. First of all, if you're the Jaguars today, I'm not sure. It has to be a middle school football practice where the coach is just totally ticked off at the effort. And, we've seen it in college football this year. Which coach was it?
Syracuse after the UConn game.
Running lines. Like, that's what Jacksonville should be running so they're puking this week. To lose to that Texans team. First of all, Texans defense has been great all year. Jacksonville put points up. To let Davis Mills beat you. Oh, my goodness. But having said that, Davis Mills, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's just through the air. He had a massive run play that made a huge difference. 3 carries, 20 yards. He had the touchdown there, too. And what Davis Mills was able to do for Houston this week, massive shout out to him. He's your perennial backup. He's like the McCowns of the day. Like, that's what he is. No, he's going to be the guy. But he came in and did something that Houston desperately needed him to do this week. And we'll talk about more Houston players later on in the show. But Davis Mills, man, shout out to him. Huge stud.
He just won himself a new contract with that one performance. Like, a team's going to take a shot at him because, well, he's going to be our backup, but he's proven in that, quick spot he can come in and lead a comeback drive. It's insane.
Yeah. For sure. All right, let's go to some duds. You got a dud this week?
Yeah, James Cook, 13 carries for 53 yards, 5 catches, only 24. I mean, the whole Bills team was pretty much a dud. There was not much going on there, but it seemed like James Cook, a lot of people expected a big day out of him, and he just came up short.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going with wide receiver Quentin Johnson in Los Angeles. He's been okay this year. He had 10 targets, but only 5 catches, 42 yards, single-digit fantasy points this week. This is a week that we needed him to show up, and he didn't do it. So Johnson's one for me. I got one more. Do you got another one as well?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson. I was high on him coming in this week. He had a good game against Detroit. 4 catches on 12 targets for 37 yards, only 7 points. That's really concerning to me. The fact that he had such a high target mark and only get 4 catches out of that. I know that's great. Problems with J.J. McCarthy. I think it's both, but that's really concerning right now. And I don't know what to make of Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's a hard one because I have been vocally anti J.J. McCarthy. yet I still have Justin Jefferson in a league.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's not
the
like
same
I'm
way.
rooting against JJ McCarthy horribly. I want him to get down by 30, so they have to throw the ball a bunch and still lose the game, but Jefferson scores a bunch. But yeah, it's getting tricky with some of these guys, especially as we get closer to there are teams now that have to win, fantasy teams. If they don't win now, they're going to get eliminated from the playoffs. Like, we're at that crunch time right now. And when you draft a guy like Justin Jefferson early in the first round, you anticipate high scoring all the time. And those kinds of outings, it's scary with JJ as the quarterback. And he's looked fine, since coming back from the injury, but still it's a scary place to be.
And you don't want to bench him because, like, if you bench him and he goes off, you look like the moron. It's like, well, why'd you bench Justin Jefferson? It's like, well, you just see what happened last week?
Yep. Well, and we went through that with Derrick Henry at the beginning of the year. We've seen that with a few really guys that are supposed to be studs this season that have been really tricky to figure out when to play them, when to bench them. My last dud is Harold Fannin Jr. in Cleveland. 7 targets, 4 catches, 44 yards, no touchdowns. He did score a touchdown against New England 2 weeks ago, the week before the bye. But he's only got 2 touchdowns on the year. And the catches, they're just not being what they need to be right now. And in that offense, Harold Fannin should be a focal point. And so I did not see all 7 targets, so I'm not sure if they were catchable or not. But I need him to be more 6 of 7 versus 4 of 7. And that's going to add up pretty quick for Harold Fannin. So good season for the rookie overall, but not a great week for him this past week as well. All right, there's studs and duds. You got somebody else to talk about?
No, that's it. Yeah.
All right, that's studs and duds this week on our lead block. And feel free to drop in the comments studs and duds this week for you, maybe even on your roster, someone that let you down or someone that really made you look smart this week. Drop those in the comments. Love to see those throughout this program. All right, let's head into segment number 2, the cover 2. All right, as we discussed the latest NFL news, we're going to start with Brian Daboll and the Giants. You mentioned at the beginning that still have the GM, still have some staff there that I would guess will change after the season's done.
Yeah.
May not, though. That's a whole conversation to have, I guess. But I was very pro Brian Daboll. I thought the hire was good when they brought him in. I thought they did the right thing with the roster, even initially when he was there. It just never really worked, never materialized for Daboll. And is it on him? I mean, he's the coach, so he's going to take the blame. But do you think it's on him, or do you think it's more on the GM, roster management, all that kind of stuff?
I think it's on everybody because you basically it was an arranged marriage between him and Daniel Jones for pretty much his entire tenure, and it was clear that Daniel Jones had the one good season, the offense was very simplified, but going to that second year with him, Daboll's like, all right, we gave you the big contract. I want you to do more. I want you to run my offense. Started making things more complicated, and that's when we saw the Daniel Jones struggles again. So, when you have a quarterback that can't run your offense, that's a major problem. At the same time, there's things like the Wake Martindale situation. Apparently, him and Mike Kafka didn't have a good relationship. Like, there's an attitude problem he has. He doesn't hold guys accountable. He's not, he's coaches soft, coaches scared. Like, he kicked a field goal at the 1-yard line in a 4th and goal situation. Like, I don't care who's quarterback. Go for it, dude, at the 1-yard line. So he was coaching soft, no accountability. To me, every positive you can say about Daboll is what you want your OC to be. So I think we're going to look back as Brian Daboll be one of those guys who's a really good offensive coordinator. He just doesn't have the making. He's not a leader. He just can't be the head coach.
I like it. I put out a tweet this week, and I just said, if you look at what Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor are doing in Indianapolis, it's what Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley should have done in New York.
Yeah.
And you saw
it was in 2022. That's what we did.
Yeah. And then they got away from it. And that's why Brian Daboll's fired, ultimately.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because if he'd stuck with that, Saquon was obviously good enough. And Daniel Jones in the right situation. And every coach has to do that. You cannot force people. You cannot do the old, square peg into a round hole kind of a thing. You got to make it work for the players you have on your roster. And when you have a coach and a GM, they don't work together well enough, that becomes a problem. So Daboll's the one that gets fired. Not surprising.
No. It's more surprising it's mid-season. This is only the second time the Giants have fired a coach mid-season. This is not like standard business for the Giants.
Yeah. Well, and I'm interested to see what direction they go now. Who they look at. They're saying, well, Kafka has a shot. He's going to get the rest of the season to be the head coach, and see if maybe Daboll was holding him back a little bit, because he's been interviewed by a lot of guys, by a lot of teams. So I'm interested to see how that this rest of this season goes. You obviously have a quarterback in Jackson Dart, although he's concussed several times this season, so that's scary.
Well, that's what the new coach has to do, is get it through Jackson Dart's head. Like, you could be competitive, and I love that, but you have to read the moment. Like, if we're in a playoff game, fight for that extra yard. But if it's 24-7, just slide, dude. Just slide. Don't need to do it.
Yeah, you're drafted in the top 15 this year, no matter what. So just stay alive, and let's work on improving some things and go from there. Because again, there is hope. We talked about that at the beginning. Back when Dart took over. Okay, there's hope for the future now with Jackson Dart there. Cam Scatterbo was great. He got injured, of course, as well. Neighbors hurt. Like, you look at next season now, if the right hire is made and the right draft picks are made, which is true for every team. But you've got a quarterback, you've got a running back, you've got a receiver, you've got a decent tight end. Defense isn't horrible. So you just
defense being held back by Bowen, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Like, the Giants are running the wrong defense. They're running a 3-4. They have to go back to a 4-3. So you can get Thibs, Carter, Burns, and Dex all on the field at the same time.
They should hire Brian Germaro is what they should do.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, Joe Burrow says he's on target to come back for Thanksgiving. Right now, that division is absolutely nuts. Baltimore is kind of in the driver's seat. Not technically. Pittsburgh is still, but the way I look at it is Pittsburgh's now playing scared, and Baltimore's kind of playing with house money at this point in the season. And then if Cincinnati can just win another game or two before Burrow comes back, they're still in the hunt too. It's a weird division. What's your thoughts on Burrow? Like, should he just wait it out, or do you think he should still come back halfway through?
I think he should wait this out, because like, if the Bengals drop another couple games and it's like one of those situations where it's like, they could get in if like this team loses a bunch of games and this team, like, one of those like crazy scenarios, then like, don't risk your franchise quarterback. Let him sit the year, count this year as a wash, and come back next year. Like, I think that's the smart move for Burrow's health and for the organization as a whole. Just pack it up. It's a wash. We're never get it from Joe Flacco. It's an absolute win, and just go into next year hoping that maybe make some improvement on that defense.
Yeah, because if you look at the AFC right now, you got the Colts and the Broncos and the Patriots all at 8-2. And then you've got Los Angeles, the Chargers at 7-3, Buffalo's at 6-3. You've got Pittsburgh, who's leading the division right now, Jacksonville at 5-4, and then you got more West teams. Kansas City there at 5-4 too. Yeah. Now again, if Cincinnati wins, goes on a streak here, then they're right in the hunt. It makes sense. But then if they're doing well, why bring in Joe Burrow? Like, why not just keep rolling?
And then, like, even if they do make the playoffs, do you feel this Bengals team is good enough to even make a run? So it's like, okay, you bring back Joe Burrow just to get beat in the wild card game? Like, what's the point of that?
You got to be able to understand your circumstances. And the Bengals, it makes more sense for them to tank this year than ever before. And you go out there, get you a better draft pick, and just spend the whole offseason on defense. On defense.
An established defense. Not like Shamir Stewart, who's like, the idea is a good defensive player. Like, that's the biggest problem with the Bengals I have, is they didn't draft, like, they should have gotten like a Jihad Campbell, who like is proven a good football player in college. They went for the idea of a good football player.
Well, and I look at what the Falcons did. Both of the guys the Falcons took in the first round were being mocked to Cincinnati. They go with Stewart. Then you end up getting the holdout. Then you get all it's just chaos. Like, just, I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm not a Bengals fan. My dad lives in the area, the Dayton area, and he hears it all the time. People are just fed up with Cincinnati sports. Honestly, the Reds frustrate them, even though they had a decent year this year. The Bengals are just so frustrating. My son's a Bengals fan, and he doesn't want Burrow to come back this year. He wants him to come back next year, but
the
Not this
worst group of owners in sports. Now I'm thinking about it.
year. Yeah. It's probably top 2, 3. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the Reds owners are terrible. The Bengals owners are terrible. Like I'm trying to think of I mean, New York has bad owners, but like we also have like 3 great owners, so like it
Yeah.
kind of balances out. With
Yeah.
Cincinnati, it's nobody. It's just bad.
Yeah. I could argue Dallas has some questionable things going on down there with the Mavericks
Yeah, Mavericks
and the
Dallas, but
Cowboys.
you have Mark. I mean, Mark Cuban was the primary owner. He was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some interesting owners out there in the world, but and that's another thing about the Colts. They had, with the passing of Irsay and his daughter's there, and like I wasn't
love
big
her.
on Steichen. It's gone so smoothly. I'm in shock.
Yeah, no, I'm shocked it's gone so smoothly. You could say like, oh, it's like one of those like motivating winning for Irsay, but I love what his daughter's doing. Like the idea of like getting a headset on just to kind of like learn and operate, like learn how the football team works. That's perfect. She's not interfering. She's not calling plays. She's just trying to learn how the sport works. That's genius. Every owner should be doing that.
Yeah. Travis Hunter's out for the year, had surgery, so he's done. Of course, they made a trade. They bring in receiver help, and they got Washington has been nuts for them this year too. So it's kind of, I don't know. Travis Hunter was very underwhelming here in his rookie season so far. What do you expect from him off season and next year? Like, are we ever going to see him be what we thought he could be?
I don't think so, because I don't know if the Jaguars necessarily know how to use him in both ways. Like I think they're playing like 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. Where like they want to be a two-way player, but they're kind of like restricting him, like want to make sure he doesn't like burn himself out. I think we're at a point now where you have to pick one or the other. Right? We tried it didn't lead to the results. We spent so much on you to be the face of this franchise that you need results, and the best way to do that is to pick one of the two positions. Whether it's receiver or corner, that's up for Hunter to decide, but he's got to make a choice. And then maybe like a special package here and there, like, okay, like if he picks corner, it's late in the game, a deep route, you throw Hunter out there, but not the full time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, Dion. I mean, Dion wasn't full time on offense. He was a cornerback that played offense occasionally. You look at
Gronk played defense for Patriots for a couple times.
Yeah.
On the games, they throw him out there in the backfield. It's like, just pick the ball off.
Yeah. You go look at Cordell Stewart. He was known as Slash. He plays a little quarterback, plays a little receiver, but ultimately Cordell Stewart, basically he had a position, and then occasionally they would do something. Taysom Hill is another example of that. You can have your packages, but be one thing and just get really good at it from there.
It's like I want to talk like Ron Swanson. Don't half-ass two things. Full-ass one thing.
Here you go. Words of wisdom. I want to talk about last night's game, Philadelphia and Green Bay.
Brutal.
Philadelphia, I've said it all season. They just haven't looked right. There's something off in Philadelphia. They're still winning games. There's just something that's off there. Green Bay, I can talk for hours about them being that I'm a fan. I won't bore the people with that tonight. It hasn't been perfect. The offensive line's been horrendous. Last night, 10-7. I appreciate the commentators trying to tell us we were watching a good game. But the reality was we weren't watching a good game. It was ugly from the get-go. The officiating, just horrible. Like, it's just so obvious that they're missing stuff. All these false starts on both sides. It's just it's so bad.
And that game last night,
I went away last night going, both of these teams should be Super Bowl caliber teams this year. Yep. Neither one of these teams I would be willing to put my money on because there's just, I don't know, man. I don't like it at all, and I don't know how to fix it either. But give me your thoughts on Philly and Green Bay.
Well, I mean, Philly, like you say, like teams you're afraid to put your money on. I wouldn't be afraid because no matter how bad Philly looks, they just find ways to win games. And now, could that be like culture, locker room? I don't know, but they just have some like it factor to it that like no matter how bad they look, no matter what is going on with much drama with AJ Brown, they're just gonna find a way to win football games. So that should give you some peace if you're an Eagles fan. It doesn't fix the problems because you got clear issues that are going to bite you at some point, but at least you can, win games now. For Green Bay, I'm more concerned because this defense is good. It's just, when is this offense to get going? And you have the injuries, like, Golden was out last night. It's when is it going to click and live up to the expectation?
Yeah, that's the question I'm asking for sure. And man, it's just frustrating. Jacobs looked a lot better last night, but then, well, they lose their center to a fractured ankle, and that's not going to help because he was their best offensive lineman, and now he's gone. So the offensive line has not been good. Jordan Love, I still like Jordan Love. I'm not anti Jordan Love. I think he's a very good quarterback, but I think I don't know what it is. He's being held up by something. He needs to play free, and I don't know what it is that's locking him up. I like LaFleur. I think that LaFleur is a very good offensive mind. He has some issues as a head coach. I think he doesn't hold his staff accountable. The special teams has been horrendous. Like, you got to do something about that. But he's kind of just letting his staff do their thing. So I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes. And Green Bay as a team right now is third in the division behind Chicago and Detroit.
Yeah.
And only by a half a game. They got the ties. So that's
why the Chicago team is playing with house money right now. Like, they're on a complete high right now.
Yes, they are. And it's sad.
Well, yeah, for you, it's sad. Especially as a Packer fan, you don't want anything good happening in Chicago.
Right. Yeah. Well, for the record, I went over on their win total this year, and that's going to look pretty good, I think, when it's all said and done. All right, that's it for cover 2. Let's get into our start sits and the read options. All right, starts and sits for this busy week of football. Let's start with Thursday night football. Brian, who do you got?
So I got Travion Henderson. You have to start him after last week's game. The Jets are allowing 17.2 points per game per running backs this year. Even with the win last week, they gave up 158 yards. And with this being a short week and Stevenson being injured, there's no guarantee Stevenson's going to be out there again. So I think Henderson, A, has earned a rightful spot there, and B, with Stevenson out, they're not going to turn to their backups to let him go. I'm also going to start Drake May. I just don't trust this Jets defense. I'm starting any Patriots starter I can because this Jets defense is so unbelievably depleted that it's just going to make things very, very easy for the Patriots. I think they're going to have a traditional Patriots game where they just beat up on the Jets and make you think that, Brady and Belichick are still on that sideline. My first hit, I got to go Justin Fields because, man, he only had 50 yards last week. How can they continue to run this guy out there is beyond me. But, I guess when you're the Jets, that's what you have to do. And then I'm also going to sit Breece Hall as this was the first. Sean Tucker is the first running back to rush for over 50 yards on the Patriots run defense. Breece Hall's going to get nothing going defensively.
Yeah, it's so bad right now in New York for the Jets. And I sit there and go, okay, Tyrod Taylor's injured, but this is just random, sure, but why not go sign Hendon Hooker?
Yeah.
And he
or
knows
any of these guys out there.
Yeah, he knows the offense. He was a high second-round pick. He got to sit behind Jared Goff and learn it there in Detroit. He recently was released down there in Carolina. Justin Fields isn't your guy. Tyrod Taylor's not your future. Why not go get a guy that knows your offense, bring him in and see what happens? I don't know.
And he's still young enough where he could put together and just be like that, either A, a stock guy like you thought Fields was going to be, or B, just be that game manager and you surround him with enough talent, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, Garrett Wilson's out for a few weeks now. They're saying, too, that doesn't help the Jets.
Everything's just working against the poor Jets.
Yes, it is. All right, let's go to the early kickoffs on Sunday. We are starting Caleb Williams, quarterback, Chicago, against Minnesota. They're 18th against fantasy quarterbacks this year, and Caleb Williams has 200-plus yards and at least one touchdown in 6 of his 8 games, and his rushing ability is starting to show up more and more every week. Coming off a great week last week, Minnesota's defense has not been awesome. So give me Caleb Williams. I'm also starting Pittsburgh running back Jaylen Warren His role continues to grow in Pittsburgh. They are going against Cincinnati this week, the 32nd ranked defense, the worst defense in the league, and against fantasy running backs as well. I'm also starting, this is a kind of a flyer, but Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, Houston. Rookie wide receiver. They are playing at Tennessee this week. Tennessee is ranked 24th against fantasy wide receivers. And last week, in week 8, Jaden Higgins had 8 targets and a touchdown. Last week, 7 targets and a touchdown. His role is increasing, and he's great at getting the ball. So I like him as a sneaky play this week, Jaden Higgins in Houston. Then we're starting Kyle Pitts, the Atlanta tight end versus Carolina. He's getting consistent targets. Carolina ranks 26th against fantasy tight ends. We're sitting Tyrone Tracy of the New York Giants against Green Bay this week. Green Bay is ranked 6th against running backs. And we're also sitting Rome Odunze at Minnesota as they're 7th against wide receivers this season. All right, let's go now to the late kickoffs on Sunday. Brian, who do you got?
Well, first, I'll give you a little extra on Tyrone Tracy. They are running him like Cam Scatterboo, and that just does not work. All right. Tracy's a good back, don't get me wrong, but he's got to be more the elusive. Like, I only watched 4 times. They ran the ball right up the middle. Like, dude, it's not going anywhere. But yeah, so the late window, my first start is Marvin Harrison Jr. 24 targets since Jacoby Brissett took over as quarterback. 15.95 points per game since taking over. That's pretty good. The 49ers have also allowed the 12th most fantasy points to receivers this year with 19.8. I'm also starting Jerry Jeudy. He's gotten 10-plus targets in 2 of Gabriel's 5 starts this year. He's coming off his best performance of 6 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. He's also getting very catchable balls, like 60% target rate have been catchable, and 40% have been pushed down the field. So this is a deep threat guy. I like what I'm seeing from him. I would start Jerry Jeudy. And I also would start Harold Fanning Jr. I know he had a bad week last week, but I think this is his bounce back. I don't trust that Baltimore secondary. I think he gets back on track. I'm sitting, and I know this is going to kill Kevin for this one, I'm sitting Sam Darnold as the Rams have given up the 10th fewest points to quarterbacks this season. And when Darnold's been forced to throw, he hasn't looked great. And the Rams have the 10th highest sack rate in the league. I think it's going to be a bad day back there for Darnold. And I'm also sitting Courtland Sutton, kind of falling off in these past few weeks. I guess you could say that about the Broncos offense as a whole. Four of his last 5 games produced less than 10 points. The Chiefs defense has allowed the 3rd fewest points to receivers. Bo Nix inconsistency. It's a recipe for disaster.
I like it. All right, then we're doing Monday night. It's the Cowboys versus the Raiders. I am starting Javonte Williams, running back, Dallas. Vegas has the 18th best or worst, however you want to look at it, defense against fantasy running backs this year. Williams has to find the end zone. If he doesn't, you're going to be looking at around 9 to 11 points. But if he finds the end zone, then you're going to see it really bust up, and I think he's going to against Vegas. I'm also starting George Pickens. The Raiders have been horrible against wide receivers this year, fantasy-wise, and obviously we're doing CeeDee Lamb, but I'm also starting Pickens this week. I'm starting Tyler Lockett this week for the Raiders. 31st, going up against Dallas, the 31st ranked opponents against fantasy wide receivers. Last week, Tyler Lockett, 5 catches on 6 targets for 44 yards. Immediately, Geno Smith is going right back to his old friend and Tyler Lockett, so I'm starting him this week too. I'm sitting Jake Ferguson, the tight end for Dallas. Vegas has ranked 5th against fantasy tight ends, and that big paycheck has not really done what it needs to do for Jake Ferguson. And we're also benching Trey Tucker, the wide receiver from Vegas. He's averaging 10 yards per catch, but he only had 2 catches last week and 3 the previous week. He's not a big enough part of that offense for Vegas, so I'm benching Trey Tucker there in Vegas. There's your start sits. Again, feel free to drop some comments. What do you think about those opinions? Do you hate them? Do you love them? Did we leave somebody out? Obviously, we only gave you a few people per window, but still, feel free to drop your thoughts on those starts and sits for this week. All right, let's head into the red zone. All right, Brian, we're talking waiver wire additions this week. I've got a few, but I'm going to let you just kind of give us all yours, and then whichever ones you don't hit of mine, I'll bring up.
All right, so I got 3 I'm really targeting this week. My first is Jaden Higgins, 17.1% rostered, 5 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. He's had 7+ targets in 2 of the last 3 games. Maybe, the Texans offense might have found something this week. That's been a major problem. Maybe they found something, and Higgins could be a guy that continued to that success. I'm also going to look at Mac Hollins and the New England Patriots. 6 catches for 106 yards, 7+ targets 2 of the last 3 weeks. And with the status of Booty still unknown, Hollins could kind of step in and continue to take those targets. So it could be a nice fill-in option if you got a guy on bye. And finally is Roman Wilson, only rostered in 0.3% of fantasy leagues. 2 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown, 10+ points to the last 3 weeks. He's a big play threat. So if you need, he's boom or bust. But if you want, that big playability in your lineup, that's a guy to go out there and get.
I like it. Yeah, Higgins was on my list too, and I'm incredibly biased with Jaden Higgins. So Jaden played at Eastern Kentucky for his freshman season before transferring to Iowa State. I was covering EKU at the time, so I've had Jaden on my show and chatted with him before, and just absolutely love him to death. And so I'm very biased around Jaden Higgins, but finally they're using him for what his skill set is, and that's going to pay off, I think, in a big way. So he was definitely on my list as well. I'll add Tyler Lockett in there from Vegas. Again, he's the favorite receiver. Now, he's not going to be better than Bowers, of course, but he's the next best thing on that team right now. And he's just that solid vet that Geno Smith, as long as Geno Smith's the quarterback, Tyler Lockett's going to get plenty of targets. So if you're needy at wide receiver right now, Tyler Lockett is a decent pickup. And then I'll mention Parker Washington just because he's only 16.9% rostered. I cannot believe that.
Wow, you got to go out and get this guy. I thought last week was going to be the week everybody runs on him.
That's what I thought too. And he's still sitting there available in many leagues. He had the punt return touchdown this week as well, so that counts for him. And receiving wise, even with the newest edition, they're still using Parker Washington a lot. So go out and get him while he's still there. And if you're listening live, like, you need to go on your league right now and claim him, because tomorrow morning when waivers clear, I have to think he's being claimed in every single league. If he's not, people are smoking crack. So go get some Parker Washington stock while it's still available as well. There's some waiver wire ads for you this week. And now it's time to get into our final segment. We call it Beat the Bot. All right, Beat the Bot is where we challenge RotoBot AI to a competition every single week. You say, what is RotoBot AI? I'm glad that you asked. RotoBot AI is a fantasy football platform that equips users to make decisions faster and smarter. RotoBot AI is able to recognize each user's unique scenario and tailor roster advice based on that. So when you look for starts and sits, trades, waiver wire claims, and all kinds of analytical data to go on top of it as well. You can try RotoBot AI for free. Download the RotoBot AI app. Use the code BELLYUP when you do, and you'll receive 1 free week of access to RotoBot AI. Last week, we asked who would be the highest scoring wide receiver in fantasy football, and, well, we were all over this one. They had Justin Jefferson, RotoBot AI did, 7.7 points. Did not work out for them. Kevin had Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had 16.8 points. I had Emeka Egbuka, who had 23.5. And Brian went with Drake London at 24.4. Beat me by 0.9 points on the pick this week.
Win's a win, baby. Just win.
That's right. Just win, baby. Brian is now officially tied with RotoBot AI on the season and picks. There, me and Kevin trailing a far bit behind us as well from there. All right, this week, here's what we're looking at. Who will score the least amount of points this week? And Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Bijan Robinson? Who will score the least amount of points? And I just realized as I read that again that I asked RotoBot AI the wrong thing. So, Kevin, I'm going to let you start us while I type in and ask RotoBot AI this question. I want you to go ahead and start us off then with who you think will be the least scoring of those top running backs.
Well, I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. And I know Philly his run defense has been questionable this season. They've allowed 17.4 points to running backs all season, which ranks kind of towards the bottom of the league. But when you have guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, just big nose tackles who, get to their running back, kind of stifle them, I don't want to bet against that. I think they'll have a pretty easy time stopping the run game on Sunday night. And like we said, Philly just finds ways to win. If you're going to beat the Lions, you got to stop Jahmyr Gibbs. So give me Gibbs.
All right. Gibbs is the answer for Brian. RotoBot AI is going with Christian McCaffrey this week. And so I'm looking to see real quick. They like the, let's see here. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's workload has become more uncertain with a tougher matchup and shared backfield, limiting his efficiency and target share. And so that's why they're going with Christian McCaffrey this week. And I think that's an interesting take there for sure from RotoBot. And you look at it and you're going, okay, you got the injury issues, you got quarterback issues in San Francisco, you've got everything, you got health issues anyhow to see that limited there. My initial thought was going to be Jahmyr Gibbs also, Brian, but I'll go a different direction just because I'm nice like that. So I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson this week. He'll be my pick for the scoring the least out of these four guys: McCaffrey, Achane, Gibbs, and Bijan. I think Gibbs makes the most sense for sure, but I'll go with Robinson this week. You never know what's going to happen in Atlanta. And
you really don't. That's such a problem.
It could be Bijan could score 60 points this week, and we go, it makes sense. He could score 3 points this week, and we go, yeah, I could see that coming too. So, so I'll go with Bijan this week. I have the least amount of points scored between C-Mac, Achane, Gibbs, and Bijan this week. All right, Brian, tell the fine folks about your content this week. I'm sure you had plenty to talk about with Brian Daboll on the 3rd and 10 podcast, but talk about what's going on this week for you.
Yeah, so I was on Corner Booth on Monday night, and I think I'll be on again Thursday, so you check that out. Today, of course, 3rd and 10 came out. Basically, we didn't talk at all about Giants-Bears. It was just Brian Daboll and the future of his organization, and Joe Shane and Mike Kafka, Shane Bowen. John Mara got thrown in there for a little bit. So all of the stuff to be expected. On Thursday, we'll be previewing Giants-Packers. Maybe we'll have a surprise guest on for that. Stay tuned after the show. Then, of course, you find all my writing at Brian Peachy 1016.
Awesome, man. I've got my show, the Sports Stove Football Show. I don't know when we're going to be live this week. Our typical time of going live, my son has a basketball game. So I have not talked with the co-host, my dad, yet to figure out when we're going to do the show this week. We'll get it out there at some point. But if you're on Belly Up's YouTube channel, you can find all the episodes of the Sports Stove Football Show. You can also find the podcast, the Sports Stove Football Show podcast as well. On the Sports Stove YouTube channel, we have a ton of draft content out there right now. We previewed several of the position groups for the draft, the 2026 draft. Dropped the midseason mock draft this week. Got Carolina Panthers fans all up in a tizzy, which really surprised me. Of all the things, one I really was surprised by. But I appreciate them tuning in still and commenting on those thoughts. So go check that out. Midseason mock did the whole first round, and I still have a few more position groups to get through, but you get to hear a lot of talk about the quarterbacks and the cornerbacks and the running backs and the receivers and the offensive linemen, all kinds of stuff, edge rushers too. So check that out on the Sports Stove YouTube channel. You can follow me on socials at Sports Stove. You can follow Belly Up Fantasy Sports at Belly Up Fantasy and Belly Up Sports at Belly Up Sports on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Something else too. I don't remember what it was, but anywhere you got, you can find Belly Up Sports as well. Make sure you check out the website. All kinds of great content going out. Kevin was actually dropping an article, I think today. Dropped an article on fantasy football as well. So got some stuff out there too. He'll be back with us next week. And then the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel has all the great shows from the Belly Up Sports Network on there as well. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in. Again, we're week 11 of the NFL season right now.
It always goes so fast. Like Francesa had a bit for years. Like he'd always be like, I can't believe we're week 6 already. And be like, yeah, that's how time works, dude.
Yeah, each week it seems to keep adding up a little bit more and more and more. So yeah, we're going to start talking about the playoff push soon, about talking about, maybe some strategy things to help you get to the playoffs if you're trying to get there, and things of that nature, as well as we're getting much, much closer.
And of course, ways to cause chaos if you're not in the playoffs.
Yes, that's an important strategy as well.
Yeah.
Be the spoiler, cause problems in your league. Not if you're in my leagues, but if you're in other people's leagues, cause problems. All right, that's it for today's episode of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show. We'll be back next week to preview Week 12 and to recap Week 11 as well. He's Brian Germaro. I'm Vince Stover. And again, shout out to Kevin Wilson and all the veterans out there as well. Have a great rest of your week.